Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Charita Viniparachi and here are today's headlines.
The final rites of the late veteran actor Dr. Jalat Manoratna will take place on Wednesday. Influencing involved in the Silk Cloth case revealed in a recording. 2,500 civil security personnel to be deployed to counter the human-elephant conflict. Sri Lanka T20 captain Lasith Malinga says if the reason for the defeat was his leadership, he is prepared to quit.
Moving on to those and other stories in detail. The final rites of the late veteran actor Dr. Jalat Manoratna will take place at the Burlasgamo General Cemetery on Wednesday. The remains currently lie at his residence at number 18 Aberatna Mavata Ratanarama Road, Burlasgamo. Late Dr. Manoratna was ill over a period of time. Dr. Manoratna, who was born in 1948 in Nuvarelia, received his primary education at the Dehipe Vidyalaya. Upon successfully facing his grade 5 scholarship examination, he ventured into the field of drama through school stage plays. He received the Best Actors Award for his performance in the Aspagunam play, evaluated by the All Ceylon School Drama Competition. Upon entering the University of Peradeniya, under the guidance of Professor Edirivira Sarachandra, late Dr. Manoratna, whilst teaching Sinhala literature and drama and theatre, contributed to a number of dramas which include Pemato Jayati Soko, Vesantara, Mahasara, Kadavalalu and Elavagihim Meluava. In 1980, his first drama production, Mahagiridamba, was unveiled on stage. Once television was introduced to Sri Lanka, he featured in a number of teledramas which include Dudaruo, Bodima, Kantegedara, Sakisanda alias Sanda Amavakai and Gajama Nona. In addition, his performances was reflected in films such as Mangala Thagga, Suryarana, Gol and Hogana Pokuda.
And meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa extends his deepest condolences on the demise of the Sultan of Oman, Qaboos bin Said Al Said. The condolences message has been sent to the new Sultan of Oman. In the condolences statement, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa states, under the far-sighted leadership of the late Sultan Qaboos bin Said Al Said, Oman transformed into a progressive, peaceful nation over the past 50 years, and with the late Sultan's demise, the world has lost a competent and dedicated national leader. The President further states the contribution of the late Sultan in enhancing close relations between Sri Lanka and Oman will always be highly appreciated. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa also extended his deepest sympathies in a Twitter message. In the tweet, the Premier extends his sympathies to the family members on the event of the bereavement of the Sultan of Oman.
The Ministry of Foreign Relations states steps are being taken in cooperation with the Sri Lankan diplomatic mission in Tehran to bring down the remains of the 3 students who died in Azerbaijan. 2 sisters of the same family from Piliandala named Malsha Sandipani and Tharuki Amaya and Amodya Madhuhansi Jayakuri of Kaduwala, who was studying at the Western Caspian University, died during an accident. Issuing a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Relations said the Sri Lankan Embassy in Tehran and the Azerbaijan Embassy in New Delhi are coordinating with the Ministry of Foreign Relations in Colombo in this regard to take steps to bring down the remains. Meanwhile, Minister Bandula Gunawardena visited the residence of the two deceased sisters in Piliyandala today. The minister paid his last respects to the sisters' aunt, who passed away recently due to a heart failure.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says a cabinet paper has been tabled toward teaching appointments to prelates who have been appointed as development officers. The Premier disclosed this move at a ceremony held at the Bollygoda Vajrakota Mahavihara in Vadua. The ceremony was organised in view of awarding the post of Chief Sanganayaka of the Western Province to the Chief Secretary of All Ceylon Sasanarakshaka Mandale, Venerable Gonaduwe Gunananda Thera. The ceremony was held under the patronage of Anunayaka of the Untitled Chapter, Venerable Nyangoda Vijayasiri Thera, at which Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa presented the epistle, while State Minister Jayantha Samaravira presented the Vijayapatha. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said many degree-holding prelates had been attached to divisional secretariats as development officers. Therefore, a decision was taken giving consideration to the fact that prelates are more suitable in the teaching sector to direct students on the correct path. In this respect, a cabinet decision was taken to transform these prelates to teaching posts.
මාරු කර හැරීමට ඉවර ගන්න අපි කැබිනට් තීන්දුවක් ගත්තා. ඒ තීන්දුව ගන්න මුල්ුනේ අපේ නායක හාමුදුරුවෝ අපිට කිව්ව උපදේශ අනුව.
A large gathering of devotees, prelates and Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe and State Minister Rohit Abe Gunawardena were in attendance.
State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe says the main reason for the rice mafia is letting rice mills which were operated by the government and the cooperative sector being destroyed. The State Minister made this comment whilst conducting a surprise observational visit at the rice mill complex of the Hinguragoda Cooperative Society. The Hinguragoda Cooperative Society had launched a number of business endeavours which included cinema halls and rice mills. However, now these are non-operational. During the observational visit, it was noted that much of the machinery had decayed as they have not been utilised over a number of years. State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe says the Hinguragoda Cooperative Society contributed immensely to the economy of the country in the past, and now the rice mill has become non-functional. The State Minister pointed out those who are behind the rice mafia are reigning as the large-scale rice mills that were operated by the cooperative sector collapsed. He further stated now the consumers have been forced to submit to the monopoly of the rice mafia. State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe said he will discuss with the President and the Prime Minister and provide solutions to these issues, and a proper plan will be implemented. The Hinguragoda Cooperative Society received a new president today, Mr. P.R. Surangajit. Thereby, the collapsed Cooperative Society will be re-established and the production of rice mill at the mill will be expedited.
And the Maubima Venuvenu and Ranaviru organization state direct political interference has taken place when pronouncing the verdict in the silk cloth case. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, chairman of the organization, retired Major Ajit Prasanna, said this alleged interference is evident through a recording of the voice of Ranjan Ramanayaka. Chairman of the Maubima Venue and Ranaviru organization, retired Major Ajit Prasanna, said as a government, the previous administration interfered with the courts, and that was through the Minister of interfering with the courts, who was Ranjan Ramanayaka. Retired Major Ajit Prasanna produced as evidence a telephone conversation between Ranjan Ramanayaka and retired High Court Judge Padmini Ranamaka. The retired major further states it is evident through the telephone recording that High Court Judge Gihan Kulatunga was used as a political pawn in the silk cloth case to imprison Lalit Veeratunga and Anusha Palpita.
Three top officials from Russia, China and the United States will be visiting Sri Lanka from tomorrow. Foreign Minister of China, Russian Foreign Minister and Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs of USA will travel to Sri Lanka to meet Sri Lankan counterparts to engage in discussions. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has arrived in Zimbabwe on Saturday as part of a five-nation tour in Africa. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang has already visited Egypt, Djibouti and Eritrea. Wang is also scheduled to visit Burundi. Chinese Foreign Minister and State Councillor Wang Yi is to arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow. The Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry said that the Chinese minister will be on a transit visit to Sri Lanka. He will arrive in Sri Lanka at 11:30 p.m. tomorrow and leave the country at 12:15 p.m. the next day. Chinese Foreign Ministry is scheduled to have formal talks with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa during the brief visit. He will also make a courtesy call on Dinesh Gunawardena, Minister of Foreign Affairs, at the ministry on the 14th. Wang Yi will be the highest-ranking official to visit Sri Lanka since President Gotabaya Rajapaksa took office last November. Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Sergei Lavrov, will also arrive in Sri Lanka on Tuesday for bilateral discussions with Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. This is the first official visit from the Russian Federation following the presidential elections in November 2019. Foreign Minister Lavrov's upcoming visit to the country, which is being undertaken after 10 years since 2009, will renew and revitalize the long-standing bilateral relations between the two countries. Minister Lavrov will meet President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa during his stay in Colombo. Meanwhile, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs of USA, Alice Wells, will travel to Sri Lanka, India and Pakistan from January 13th to the 22nd. From January 13th to 14th, she will be in Colombo to meet with senior government officials and members of civil society to discuss a range of bilateral and regional issues, including shared interests in a free and open Indo-Pacific region that fosters prosperity, democracy, justice and human rights. Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary Wells will then travel to New Delhi from January 15 to the 18th to attend the Raisina Dialogue. Finally, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary Wells will travel to Islamabad from January 19 to the 22nd. She will meet the senior government officials and members of civil society to discuss issues of bilateral and regional concerns.
And in your local stories, UNP parliamentarian Marika calls for offenders involved in the bond scam to be served sentences soon. Meanwhile, government spokesman State Minister Bahindanand Alutgamage says the law will be enforced against all parties implicated in the bond scam within next 3 weeks. UNP MP Marika says the present government party over the past 4.5 years alleged that the central bank bond scam was a result of the country losing funds through theft. The MP called on the government to, without considering political party affiliations, penalize those involved in misappropriating public funds and robbing public assets. In response, government spokesman State Minister Bahindanand Alutgamage said a hefty conspiracy is underway to drive out Ranil Wickremesinghe and appoint Sajith Premadasa to the party leadership. The State Minister further stated, therefore, UNP MP Marikar has convened a media briefing and is calling for the bond scam criminals to be penalized in a bid to change the UNP leadership. The State Minister added the government will not fly lawsuits by force. However, all those implicated in bond scam will be penalized.
Minister Chamal Rajapaksa says the law will be properly implemented against offenders without filing false lawsuits. The minister says the proper procedure will be followed to bring the offenders before law. Minister Chamal Rajapaksa says new laws will not be created and false lawsuits will not be filed, as under the ordinary law of the country, offenders can be penalized upon investigations being carried out. The minister noted in the context of state sector employees there's a separate disciplinary procedure to be followed. The minister added no complaints will be concealed. The minister made these comments joining in the inauguration ceremony of the 2020 Irrigation Prosperity Program, which is being launched under the manifesto of a prosperous nation. Reconstruction work of a number of tanks, including the Hambantota Bandagiriya tank, commenced today.
The Department of Wildlife Conservation has taken steps to recruit 2,500 civil security personnel to be deployed on mitigating the human-elephant conflict. Cabinet approval has been received in this regard. The human-elephant conflict has been adversely impacting day-to-day life of the people over a considerable length of time, resulting in the loss of 114 lives and the death of 386 elephants last year. The BBC reports this is the highest number of elephant deaths reported in the post-independent era. Around 7,500 elephants have been counted in the wild in Asia. While in Sri Lanka, the Department of Wildlife Conservation stated an increase in elephant deaths has been observed after the year 2015. In 2016, 279 elephant deaths were reported, whilst 88 human lives were lost. In 2017, 87 lives were lost, while 256 elephant deaths were reported. In 2018, 96 lives were lost in human-elephant conflict, while the number of elephant deaths were 319. As a measure to mitigate the situation, steps have been taken to recruit civil security personnel and issue 500 firearms, thereby allocating 1 firearm for 8 of the personnel. This is to scare away the invading elephants. As a first step, a pilot run was conducted at the Moragala Vihara at Horapala in Kakirava yesterday with the participation of Minister Semchandra Srena. In addition, a strong elephant fence is to be constructed upon aid from the Chinese government.
Stakeholders in Nepal tourism say that there are prospects for the Visit Nepal 2020 campaign to be a great success. Sri Lankan tourists are warmly welcomed to Nepal. They look forward and see Sri Lanka as an example of tourist destinations and as a country with robust and innovative tourism. They made these remarks to Dhammika Wickremesinghe of Sri Lanka, Rupavahini, who recently visited Nepal.
Visit Nepal, as the word defines it, is all about Nepal and 2020 being a year of coming to this great country of different, some of the nicest people on the planet, 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and adventure tourism, to any religious tourism, to any type of tourism that you like, the birthplace of Lord Buddha. So yeah, there's so much and so many things that are going to happen this year.
There are many flights being added. Chinese government has already assured almost 500,000 tourists. From India, neighboring countries will have more or the same, or nearby. So we're expecting almost 100,000 from UK. So a lot of improvement is there. If we get all our infrastructures ready, hotels are already ready, it will be great help.
There's been a lot of development already, and Nepal government is doing a big campaign in UK as well with buses, lots of other media, so that to tell all the UK clients or UK citizens about how good Nepal is. We would need a little bit more infrastructure development in Nepal, for instance at the airport, in terms of roads. There's a lot of work already being done, as I said, in terms of connectivity now. We've got many more international connectivity now to Kathmandu, which is very good, and there are prospects further of developing international airport at Pokhara as well, which will be a very good addition for the future. Things like streamlining the visa process will be a very good thing, which is already done to a certain extent, but it will be good to have online visa for foreign citizens so that they don't have any to do at the, it doesn't delay them when they come over into the Nepal Kathmandu airport.
Hotel Nepal of Association has announced some kind of package in terms of benefits. They've announced that they've requested most of the hotels to offer 30% discount on the bar rate and 15% discount on F&B in terms of monetary. But apart from that, I think it's just about when they come here feeling good kind of factors and how people are treating them in a very hospitable manner.
We like to develop very beautiful, tourism, Buddhist tourism, Sri Lanka, from Nepal. So Nepal and Sri Lanka have a very nice relation with each other. We warm welcome our respected, friend from Sri Lanka to promote, beautiful tourism from Sri Lanka to Nepal. And, Nepal is one of the biggest, tallest mountain, Mount Everest and Buddha birthplace Lumbini, and lot of old heritage sites, beautiful flora and fauna. We request, government of Sri Lanka and Nepal have a, beautiful connectivity, direct flight flight, Kathmandu to Colombo, Colombo Kathmandu. It makes, very easy to traveling each other. Your president and prime minister are very happy to travel Nepal, and they love, Buddha tourism in Nepal. So we always welcome Nepal, and we like to promote, mountain tourism and, a lot of cultural tourism and lot of both, Nepal people also like lovely travel to Sri Lanka, and Sri Lankan people, lovely visit to Nepal, and we like to promote, beautiful tourism in each other country.
And I think all the signs are great for Visit Nepal to be a great success. And I think it's not only Visit Nepal 2020, it's also going forward into the next 5-6 years. I'm sure like Sri Lanka is something that we look forward to, and we look as an example of a tourist destination which has gone through its share of up and down, but still tourism is thriving, people look after tourists so well, and the government and the tourism industry is robust and always innovative.
And we're not only thinking of 2020, we're always saying and beyond. So this is going to be stretched up to 10 more years, for a decade, the whole decade up to 2030. And we're very hopeful that this target, will be met.
The Police Special Task Force has established a 24-hour Special Operations Cabin on maintaining national security and public order. Information on organized criminal gangs, extorters and drug dealers can be brought to the attention of the Special Operations Cabin, which has been established upon the instructions of the Defence Secretary. The telephone numbers are 0112 580 518, 0112 058 552, 0112 500 471, 0112 506 588.
The body of the schoolboy who disappeared whilst playing along the beach in the Kammala area at Bolavatta in Venapur was found this evening in the Porutota Sea area at Kochikade. 3 persons died in this incident. Many deaths have been reported as a result of bathing in the sea in this area. The student who was reported missing was a 14-year-old who had visited the beach with his relatives at around 5 p.m. yesterday. The group included 15 individuals. Reportedly, when a girl who was playing on the sea sand was caught in a wave, and individuals had headed for the sea to rescue this girl. The deceased are 2 youth aged 19 and 21 and a school girl.
Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says the attention of the government is focused on possible issues that can arise as a result of the crisis situation in the Middle East. Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says when compared, there has been no mechanism of governance that has focused much attention on national security as the present government. He has questioned as to what the UNP ministers and parliamentarians did when details are surfaced with regard to an impending attack on April 21st last year. He charged that those in power did nothing until people were killed. The minister said he can state with responsibility that the President, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers have focused attention on the situation in the Middle East, its impact on national security, the security of local residings and engaged in employment in those areas and issues that can impact fuel supply. The minister expressed these views at a ceremony organized in the Borologode area in Kosgama to mark the 919th birth anniversary of late Palip Gunawardena, who was a pioneering leader of the leftist movement in Sri Lanka.
The Sihiniya Kira special program, in which twins of the Sri Lanka Twin Siblings Forum are preparing to place a Guinness record, was recorded today. Around 200 twins were part of this program. The twins joined in various activities including singing and selecting songs at the program that was recorded at Studio Number 3 at Rupavahini. The Sri Lanka Association of Twins hopes to gather twins from across the country at the premises of the Sugatadas Stadium in Colombo on the 20th of this month with the intention of placing a new Guinness record. Sihiniya Kira will be telecast on Rupavahini at 10:20 p.m. today. And in sports news, Sri Lanka T20 captain Lasith Malinga says if the reason for defeat was his leadership, he is prepared to quit the captaincy. He made these remarks upon arriving in the island after the conclusion of the Sri Lanka tour of India. 3 T20s were played on the tour of India. The first match was hampered by rain whilst India secured victory in the second and the third encounters. Thereby India won the series as 2-0.
And more in your sports news, the Kandy and Havelock teams secured victory at the Interclub Rugby League tournament played last evening. The Kandy team secured victory by defeating CHN FC. The match was played at the Colombo Racecourse grounds. The Kandy team led the first half with a score of 19-8. In the second half, the Kandy team scored another 12 points while CHN FC scored 5 points. Thereby, the Kandy side won this with the score reading at 31-13. The encounter between Havelock and CRN FC took place at the Havelock grounds. The first half ended with a score of 15-12, placing the Havelock side in the lead. Havelock secured victory, ending the encounter with a score reading 30-22. The game between the police and Air Force teams was played at Ratmalana Air Force grounds. The police side was leading in the first half with a score reading at 7-0. The game ended with a score reading at 36-15, thus conferring victory on the police team. The score of the victorious police side including 4 goals, 1 try and a penalty.
And before we wind up, let's have a quick look at the weather. The Met Department says that showers will occur at a few places in Sabaragamuwa and Western Provinces and in Gaul, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara districts in the afternoon or night. Light showers may occur in Eastern and Nuwara Provinces and in Polonnaru and Matara districts. Wind speeds can increase up to 50 km per hour at times over the island, particularly in the Eastern, Northwestern Provinces and in the Hambantota and Mondragala districts.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Do it just tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.
Good night.